Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother, Teja Dash. So, took a 2-week hiatus, I think all of us were planning on the Sixers still being in the playoffs at this point, so like the content just wasn't there. So we took a 2-week break to try to catch up with everything. So now I think we are at a solid point of our offseason, the unofficial offseason on our podcast here. But how's everyone doing?
Good. Yourself?
I can't complain. I'm hoping for a sweep in the finals here, so we can just get on with this, get the offseason going.
100%. Me too.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Erica, you got? Do you have Dallas or Boston in the finals?
I haven't really dissected yet. Yeah, I haven't really dissected yet, and I got some time. I got a week, so I got some time to really dig into it a little bit. I do think that it's a good matchup for both. Like, I think that it's a good and challenging matchup. I thought that for the Mavericks, I do think that this team will, all being healthy, this team will give them the most trouble from a Maverick standpoint. From the Celtics standpoint, you have a situation where their two best players don't have to defend your best two players. So that's probably something that, Boston hasn't really faced. Two guys that can score with your two guys, if not more, on a gamely basis, and they don't have to defend those guys. So it makes for an interesting pair. So I do think that Derek White and Drew Holiday are going to play a huge part, not just scoring, but also defending. And then how Boston incorporates their help defense. Are they going to trap more? Are they going to switch? So it's easy to kind of pick a team right now, but I need to kind of look. And I think game one is tell you a lot too, because it's game plan, in-game adjustments, and then game-to-game adjustments. So game plan starting the game, how they try to change it during the game, and what they do in game 2 and 3, give you a real feel for how the series is going to go.
But to be fair, with all the injuries the Boston opponents have had, they really haven't been facing other teams' best player anyway. So, I mean, they've had it pretty easy as far as defending the other team's best player.
Yeah.
Butler, Halliburton.
Do you think Porzingis is going to make a difference at all?
Yeah. If he's right, he can make a difference. I mean, because the one thing that he and Al can do is they can make enough threes to make you worry about guarding them, make you worried about pulling you away from the rim protection. They're enough of a threat, and they're capable of making enough shots. As you can see with Al, what do you have, 7 a couple games ago? Somewhere around there. We know Porzingis can make them. So if those two guys are making threes, that makes it tougher from a Maverick standpoint. That's why I say the Mavericks haven't really faced a team like this that they really have to guard all 5 guys. I don't really know who they're going to help off of. But they probably figure that they can guard Boston guys more one-on-one too. So I think they'll have to defend them a little more one-on-one. So because they do have the ability, especially in Boston's starting five, that you can't really play off a guy. I mean, they would probably, play off of Drew some, but you can't give Drew their shots. I mean, like they've done with other people. Like you just can't give him their shots. He's going to make them. He's going to make a high enough percentage to make you pay.
Do you worry about, if you're a Boston fan, do you? No, sorry, go ahead.
Right now, I mean, go ahead.
I'll say, if you're a Boston fan, do you worry about getting Porzingis back into the swing of things now that you've kind of learned how to play in a flow without him? That would worry me.
I don't think you worry. I don't think you worry about getting him in a flow as much as making a decision of starting, not starting, and how much you're playing him.
Yeah.
So I think that's more the issue, because it's, do you start him and take Al out? Or do you start Al and then bring him in to play against Lively? Like how do you? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's part of the plan. Like, do you want him playing against Gafford? More minutes against Gafford or more minutes against Lively?
Yeah.
If I'm picking, I'm having him play more minutes against Lively.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
I think that's more of a fit because he's taller, and Lively is as good as he's been. He still is a younger guy.
Yep.
So, and he's going to have to come out. So I think the more you pull him away from the rim, the more you get him, the more opportunities you give him to make a mistake.
It's gonna be a good one. Yeah.
From a Boston fan perspective, I do see that it's concerned. He has been out a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been out more games than he played. So I do feel that I would be a little hesitant about how it's going to go, but at the same time, this is it. Like it's 7 games max, and that's it.
Yes.
So
let's
figure it out. No matter what, let's go win.
Yeah.
A lot of storylines. You got the Kyrie going against his old team, the same fan base that threw a water bottle at him 2 years ago. So he's going against Boston, and then you got Porzingis going against his old team in Dallas. And then I've seen some Wizards fans really pissed off that both Gafford and Porzingis, who was their frontline guys a couple years ago in the finals, and they're mad that both those guys are gone now from the Wizards. So a lot of storylines in this one. I think I saw the game one spread. Boston's a 6-point favorite. That's gone up to a 6.5-point favorite. So the public is riding Boston hard for game one in this series. So be a very interesting series. It's probably gonna be very lopsided as far as public money goes, but yeah. The way Luke is playing right now, oof.
It's gonna be interesting, man.
It'll be interesting. But so now we're gonna talk about our team that's obviously not in the finals. Hopefully next year at this time we can be talking about our squad preparing for facing the Western Conference winners. But for now, we're going to be talking about, do we keep our draft pick or do we not keep our draft pick? So there's been a whole thing so far this offseason about Sixers fans sharing mock drafts of who they're going to draft at 16, and then people saying, oh, well, don't worry about it. We're not going to keep that pick. We're trading that pick. So at this point, we have the number 16 pick in the draft, and unfortunately, the NBA draft is before free agency, so we're not going to know who we have a shot to sign until after the draft occurs. So at this point, are you in favor of keeping the pick or trading it?
I would say trading, for the simple fact that everything has been about free agency and creating cap space and creating space to sign free agents, creating space to bring in someone via trade. I think if that's been the talk and that's the priority, and they've said that, from everything from my understanding, that's been the priority. I don't know why trading it wouldn't be the priority with this pick.
Yeah. Before I get started, let me ask you a question too, Eric. Do you know why the NBA has it scheduled this way instead of the NFL? Because the NFL, the draft happens after free agency starts because you get to see who you got and who you didn't get. Whereas with this, it makes it a little harder to wheel and deal your draft picks based on who you already signed in free agency, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think in my personal opinion, and I don't know this to be a fact, I think with how much longer the NBA season goes into the summer, if you did free, and you can't really do free agency until the NBA season's over.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA offseason for most teams is longer than, postseason is longer than the NFL as far as postseason.
Yeah.
Most NFL teams in a week are finished. Whereas NBA, most teams are going 2+ weeks.
Yep.
And then you got more teams going another 2 weeks, then you got 2 more weeks, and then you got 2 weeks after that. So the fact that it's multiple teams going a long time, you can't have free agency before, right after that, because people are going to claim they have a disadvantage because they're still playing. So, but if you have the draft after, you're pushing the draft all the way until August or the end of August, and it kind of messes up everything. And the new calculations for the season are what, July 1st, where the new NBA season starts.
Yeah.
So I Bleav that they wanted to maybe have all of that done before the new quote unquote financial season starts.
Interesting.
Is my guess. So I don't even think it's a draft versus free agency as much as it is have everything done for the new season so you can go into it knowing how much you're going to spend or how much you can't spend.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because if you now all of a sudden you have free agency and they already told you that budget, you go to free agency and you take up all your cap space to where's the space going to be for your draft? And then making trades for that draft, it just makes it harder because of where that cap is. And the NFL is different because a lot of those deals, they can cut people and make more cap space and all that stuff and maneuver it around, where the NBA isn't set up like that.
Yeah. I think the NFL I think they just hold a certain number, like allotment for their draft picks. So, okay, like this last $6.5 million is dedicated for our draft. We can't go below that type thing.
Yeah, I mean, but they have to do that because they have so many more draft picks also.
Yes.
They go 6, 7 rounds, whatever, 6 or 7 rounds. And if NBA goes 2, and you know, on a normal draft, you're getting 2 picks. One guaranteed, one isn't. But what if you make you make a deal or something like that? Yeah, it is slotted to be like that, but that's just my guess is just that it sets everything up for the financial season to go if you do it before.
Yeah.
And then it takes you into free agency, so you already know we got this draft pick, and here's where he's slotted, and here's where we are via free agency.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it puts a team like us in kind of more of a bind because we don't know who we're going to get, who we're going to strike out on. So it's hard to make.
Yeah, I mean,
trades.
I'm not against the draft being afterwards. I just think if we do that, then free agency needs to move up.
Yeah. I think you swap them.
So free agency moves up, but you also moving into what's become a huge deal now in NBA Summer League. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah,
you're going to push that back into football season?
I guess you can just swap them. Can you just swap them? Can you just make the draft on July, 3rd, and then have the free agency start on the 26th?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can do that, but what I'm saying is but Summer League now is starting the 3rd.
July. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm
July,
saying
it starts
pushing all
right
that
away.
stuff back. Yeah.
You have to push. Yeah, they have to do some work.
Yeah, and then people would have to be at their respective homes and facilities to make all that happen. So it changes the whole outlook of how things are done during the summer. And that's become a moneymaker. Summer leagues, I mean, I live in Vegas. Well, that is, I mean, it's so many people come out here for the summer leagues and meetings and players and celebrities. It's become a really, really big thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like June 26th is the draft. June 30th is free agent negotiations can begin with players not on your own team. July 1st is the official start of free agency. And then July 6th, Sacramento Summer League begins. So that would be, 10 days from the time of the draft. So if you do it the opposite right now, that would only be a 5-day difference. So, yeah.
You have to push it back 5 days to make it even. Back to the original question. Just looking at the goals overall, and that's to win a championship this upcoming year and to be competitive for championships, at least for right now, the goal for the foreseeable future for Joel's window, right? So I don't really buy how bad the draft is. We've heard that, but we've heard drafts are great, and then not a lot of great guys came out of it. We heard drafts were bad, and some really talented guys came out of it. So I don't buy the whole this draft's bad. Maybe the top end talent's not as great as it's been in previous years, but for a team like the Sixers, I don't think that really hurts us that much because we're looking for NBA ready players now who are ready to compete and get minutes now on a contending team. So whereas other teams might be going for younger, higher ceiling players, we'll be going for we don't care about the age. We want just guys who are ready to play right now. So I like guys like Devin Carter, De Silva, Jacoby Walter, and even Filipowski if they want to go for a backup big. But those are the guys that are more NBA ready, but are they ready to get minutes on a championship team? I don't know that. So if you look at teams like the Mavericks and Celtics, I think they have one young player on both teams that's actually getting meaningful minutes. That would be Lively, right? Everyone else.
Hardy's
young. Yeah.
Hardy's young too.
How many minutes is Hardy averaging though? Is he averaging
He's getting about 10 minutes a game. He's getting 10 minutes a game.
Okay.
Yeah, he took the minutes that basically Exum and Hardaway were getting.
Okay.
He just
Green's been getting some minutes.
He just hasn't been in there the whole playoffs like Lively has.
Yeah. I'm talking about
last two series, he's been the last two series he's been getting consistent minutes. So I would say that he's the second guard off the bench after I believe it's Green. He's the second guard off the bench.
Yep.
Yeah. But I guess if I'm capping at 20, 25 minutes per game, Lively would be the only major, top 6 player on either team. Celtics, forget about it. They're they're top heavy veteran team. I just think that if you're going for that, and I'm just saying I don't want to trade it just to trade it. If you're getting a guy who's a veteran who's going to be a major contributor on a team on a good contract, then make a move. But I don't like the whole just trading it just to not have it, just get out of a bad draft. I don't agree with that. I want to go for a guy.
I'm just saying if all I'm saying is if we're getting a guy that's not going to play, what because we're not in the development mode.
No,
we're not in developing. So what are we doing here if it's a guy that's not going to play?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to go for a
draft guys. I know you draft guys thinking that they can contribute. And if you find a guy that's like that and he's a situation, a position guy, then great. Maybe he's a what you're looking for. I don't know, whatever that need may be. I mean, you can, Lively. I mean, you look at what he's done, and since you brought him up, And Oklahoma City drafted him and then traded him to the Mavericks. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, but Lively's impact with the Mavericks would be different if he played for someone else.
Yes.
They don't really have guys that drive in there and throw you lobs. Like their team isn't set up like that. With Philly, let's just say Philly. If he played with Philly, it wouldn't be the same.
No.
So sometimes it's who you are and what you're doing, but it's also where you're at.
Yeah, it's true.
What if it's drafting a guy like Bronny to try to lure his father over? I mean, what if it's like something like that? That's developmental. I mean, although they say they don't want him to play in a two-way contract, so it's gonna be interesting to see.
Rich don't want him to play in a two-way contract because he already has I would imagine he already has a deal with someone. So someone's going to draft him.
Yeah.
Whether they're getting LeBron or not, like somebody's going to draft him. If getting LeBron is possible, I'm sure it's 2 or 3 teams out there that would take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
Take that chance to sign Bronny. I mean, draft Bronny and see if LB come. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Especially in the second round pick. Now, the first round pick, it gets a little dicey whether you want to do that. But in the second round pick, oh yeah, if the later he goes, you'll see more and more teams be like, okay,
should we
take a shot?
Yeah,
take a shot and see where it go and figure it out later. So I expect him to get drafted.
We got 41. It's not that late in the second.
I mean, do I think the Sixers would do it? Yeah, I think they would do it. My concern is if you draft him and then LeBron doesn't come.
Yeah, that's a big strikeout.
Philly's a tough place for that.
Yeah.
Philly's a tough
punch.
Yeah.
Because knowing Philly, they'll take it out on his son that he didn't come.
That's what all I'm saying is Philly's a tough place for that. That's all I'm saying.
Man, that kid's not going to like basketball after a couple of years of getting yelled at and taking it out that his dad never came. Oh man!
Now you can go out there and ball and change the whole narrative. Now it really don't matter where you at if that happens.
Yeah,
And I just for Bronny's sake, I feel he's going to get drafted. I hope that he's able to go out there and do what he's most believe he's capable of doing, and go out there and earn it on his own right, so the narrative can change. So I hope for his sake that happens.
Yeah.
Some recent mock drafts have Bronny going in the first round now, so we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
I think some of that's the smoke screen. I think some of it's smoke screen. Not that I don't think people would take him in the first round. I just think that there's some people. It's a lot of stuff going out there that moves or. It's a lot of rumors. You don't really hear many rumors about a guy that's in most predictions are a second round pick. But you hear so many rumors around it because it's the narrative of LB also. So
yep.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it's been about that's what it's been about. Like because LeBron said it from the beginning, I want to play with my son. So him saying that kind of led everybody to believe that
drove
that's still the plan.
Yeah.
Even though they've come publicly and denied it now. But I'm sure that's probably LeBron's goal more than it is Bronny's goal. I think Bronny's goal was probably let me play in the NBA.
Yes.
LeBron's like let him NBA with me. You know what I'm saying? So for their sake, it'll be good to see. For me, it'd be good to see. I was able to see Ken Griffey and his dad, so it'd be good for me to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Wilkins brothers played. I don't know if they played the same time, or maybe Gerald was done when his son came out. But it would be good to see. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah.
They ain't let him get on the court at the same time. That's pretty exciting. That's historic.
We do already have a relationship with Clutch Sports, with Maxie being represented by Rich Paul and them. So, I mean, there could be something there. Guess we'll see, because right now everyone thinks Phoenix and LA, because those are the only two teams that apparently he's going to work out for. So, guess we'll see what happens with that.
I mean, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, Gerald and Dominique overlapped.
No, Dominique is
brother.
Is the brothers.
Brother, right?
I'm saying Gerald Wilkins and his son.
Oh, you mean
Damian Wilkins?
Damian.
Yes. Did they overlap?
Ooh, I don't think so. Let me see though.
Shout out Damian Wilkins, former Sixer.
No, they didn't.
No,
they didn't make it.
It was close though, right?
2004 was Damian's. Yeah, 99. You got 5 years away.
Okay. Well, that's not as close as I thought. I thought it was closer than that.
So moving on to another storyline here. So this has been coming up again. People have been talking about the report from last summer that Embiid has been in and will be in the close contact with Morey and ownership about what to do with the cap space that we have in this cap space plan. So my question to you guys is, if you were Embiid, what would you be telling Morey right now on how to build this team? If you could give your tips on how to build this team around myself, if I was Embiid.
I mean, the first thing is we have to be healthy to play. I mean, I don't know how to control that. So, I mean, I guess we probably need a perimeter player that can defend on the other team's best perimeter player. That needs to be addressed, and that needs to be addressed early and often. Especially the way the game is played right now. If you look at every team that advanced, just about has a perimeter player that gets buckets. So I would say you have to address that. I would say you have to address. You always need to address shooting, and you need to address your starting power forward and how you want that to look. That would be priority number one. Like, how do you want that person to look? And I'm not sure what Joel would want. Does he want a lob guy, rim protector? Does he want a spot up shooter? Or does he want a guy that can give you 20 points a night? Like, I'm not sure. I have my opinion on it, but I'm not sure what he would prefer to be beside him. But that 4-3, I think you need a guy at that position that's going to go out and arguably be your second best player. I think it needs to be like that, where I know where we see the envision of where Maxi's going right now, but you still need another guy that could be like, hey man, Maxi, he don't have it today, but X does. Or, whoever that person is. I think you need that, because I think you need to kind of address Joel from a longevity, getting through the season perspective. So I would say more 4 than 3. But either way it go, you need someone that I feel can play both. Even if he's primary 4, he can play some 3. If he's primary 3, he can play some 4. But he has to be close to giving you 20 points a night, and not 20 points a night where. And I know the people talk about, I'm saying not a Tobias 20 points a night, meaning like he's capable of giving you 20 points a night. But it just doesn't happen if the opportunities aren't there. I want someone that can go get it with the limited amounts of calls, or we don't have to call a play for him. He just finds a way to go get it. I'll give you an example of like Pascal Siakam. I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm saying someone that scores like him. Different ways to score in transition, early post-ups, isolations, one-on-one, whatever it is, it's kind of different.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you looking like he got his 20. He got his 20. And that's what I'm saying. Someone that's very aggressive and attacking like that is so someone with the activity like that, not necessarily Pascal the player.
It's pretty good. First, if I was Embiid, I'd tell Morey, don't F this up. Just plain and simple. This is it. Don't F this up.
Yeah.
I'd say get one of those top level wings. I'd say don't overwork me during the regular season. So to save some money for a reliable backup center, or a guy who can play 4 next to me and then 5 without me. We tried that once when we tried with Horford, but I think we spent a little too much money on that position. If they could get like a more of a discount version of that and someone who doesn't have to play 33 minutes a game, that might be better. I mean, I know someone we talked about last year who got re-signed already, so he's a pipe dream now, but Olnick plays some 4 next to him because he has a shot, and then without him on the court, he could play some 5 too, right? I don't, no disrespect to these guys, but I think the days of the Bombas and the Paul Reeves just trying to make them work in Embiid's absence, especially in long absences, it just didn't work. You need to get a little more of a reliable backup big. I know the popular one everyone goes to is Drummond, but there are some other guys out there. I like Eubanks. Dare I say Saric, who played 4 and he played some backup 5 for Golden State. So he did it pretty well for them. Do you keep the pick and go Filipowski, who's like 7'1", who can play defense and has a shot? But the beauty of our team is, and depending on how we go with the offseason, who we sign, he doesn't have to be a free agent. You could trade. We have a lot of picks, and Morey already said he's willing to empty the cupboard, so to get guys he wants. So you could find a backup big on someone's team and lure them in with a first-round pick in the future. If you think he is a perfect fit as a backup, a nice insurance policy, who's not going to break the bank, because it's clear from this management team that we don't want to break the bank on the insurance policy. But we need to spend a little more than what we've been spending on the backup big. If you take what we gave Reed plus Bamba, you got about a $9-10 million player. You can get a decent backup big who plays those minutes well, with a decent contract. So those would be, I think, my top priorities. Again, what Eric said and what I said is tied in, because the health part of it, if you're not overworked during the season, hopefully, you're doing a load management where you're going to be healthier and more fresh for the postseason. That'll be helped by another top level wing who can maybe take the scoring load when Joel's out, and a backup big who's a serviceable starter when Joel's out.
Yeah.
Are you guys worried at all about the because everyone knows that Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid were very close with each other, and with the reports that Jimmy wants an extension, and there's reports that the Heat may not give it to him. I guess my concern is Embiid goes to the front office saying, "Hey, go get my friend Jimmy Butler," and we're also having to pay up a lot of assets, and more so, and like Heat fans are thinking we're going to trade multiple first-round picks to get Jimmy Butler, which I think is kind of ridiculous since they didn't trade that to get Jimmy Butler 5 years ago when he was a much younger guy. So are you at all concerned with that aspect of it if Embiid is having a close contact with Morey about bringing in Jimmy Butler?
Not really, because I would think that they would make the decision that was best for the team and not necessarily Joel. So if they're making that decision for Jimmy, they're feeling like it's the best for the team.
Yeah.
To help Joel and the team. So I don't think they're just doing it because he's someone's buddy. I mean, it's someone's buddy that happens to be the best option. So I think collectively they wouldn't make that decision if they didn't feel it was the best decision. So I don't have that. I don't share that concern because I don't think that would be I don't think Joel would even do that because it's like, hey, I want my friend. And I think he's like, I want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if Butler's the best option, then they'd be agreeing over that, right? They'd be like, he's like, don't worry, Joel, I'm already on top of it. Now, if Joel comes into the office and says, I want Jimmy because of X, Y, and Z, and Morey's like, hold on, we already have like a good deal with George and we don't have to give up assets for, I don't think Jimmy would throw a fit over the friend aspect. I think he'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's what I'm saying. Like this, you got to prove it. That's best or not best.
Yeah. Like the compensation aspect of things, where I'm seeing Heat fans saying, "Oh, you're gonna have to pay up like 3 first-round picks for Jimmy Butler." It's like, well, we got Josh Richardson and like a second-round pick for Jimmy Butler 5 years ago when he was in his prime. So I don't see how we would have to trade that much to get Jimmy Butler. That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but if you're Pat Riley, you say that was then and this is now. Pay up. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
Pat's gonna be like, I don't give a crap. That was different. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's done. That time's gone.
Yes, it's new now.
Yeah. I mean, think about it in terms of, I know this isn't real, but it's fantasy football. When you're making a deal in fantasy football, Marcus, if you traded for a guy you gave up peanuts for like 2 years ago, are you gonna let that guy be like, well, you give up nothing for him, so just trade him to me for nothing? You're like, no, give me all your assets.
Yeah, I mean, today's price isn't always last year's price.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get your logic. I totally agree with that.
You paid more for gas than you paid a couple years ago too. You get the same amount.
Yeah, if you want to go the gas route, then yeah, totally. But at the same time, it really comes down to what happens with Jimmy and Jimmy's people. If they say, I want Phil, that's what really happened, is that they said, I want Miami. It wasn't that just trade me. It was his people came back, they said, I want Miami, get it done. If he does something similar here and says, I want Philly, get it done, then they are going to have to accept a little less in that deal.
Yeah.
So, like Paul Reed in a second-round pick, is that the equivalent to Josh Richardson in a second-round
pick?
Nah,
I'd say you have to give him more for that. So at least a first, and then.
Oof. Man.
If it was just one first, I wouldn't be upset with that.
Yeah. I guess I just can't get wrap my head around the fact that younger Jimmy, we got nothing, not nothing, but relatively compared to a first-round pick or two first-round picks for it. For the same reason why they don't want to max him, for the same reason why I wouldn't want to give up a lot for him. So
yeah, sure.
But continuing on that aspect of possibly getting a big-time vet with our next topic here. So there's been a lot of reports about the Sixers being linked to all of the big-name free agents, and I mean every single free agent out there. The Sixers have interest in them. It's honestly wild. And trade block players in search of the third member of a big three. But a lot of fans would rather the Sixers signed a lot of high-quality role players instead of cashing in assets for an aging big-name veteran. So I guess Sixer fans saw what the Knicks did to us and saw how they had a decent run in the playoffs. They want that model now. But where do you guys stand on this? Would you rather high-quality role players or a big three?
I'm only of the quote-unquote big three if this guy is coming in and he can do what Maxey does on a consistent basis. And if he can't do that, I'll rather go the other route with multiple contributing players. But I don't want someone that's, we say he's the big three because of what he has done. We need someone that we know are going to do it. And that's where you get into, when you get into the names like Paul George, like Paul has done it, but is that who Paul is right now?
And for the next 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. Is it fair to expect that for the next 3 years?
Or 4.
So, because we've been there with James. I mean, we were there with James and everybody, James from averaging 27, 28 to averaging, 19, 20, and 11,
19,
and that
20.
wasn't good enough. So I think it has to be a guy that that can get you what Max can do, what Maxey can do as far as putting up numbers somewhere near there, and someone that if Joel was out, we can possibly still win a series because the Knicks won a series against us without a starter.
Yep. Big starter too.
So was he their first leading scorer or second leading scorer when he got injured? First or second?
Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree. I'm aligned with Eric and a portion of what Morey goes by, which is just get the best talent possible and figure it out. But I kind of want a combination of these things, and it is attainable. This is why I prefer George to Butler, because we wouldn't have to give up assets or draft picks, and we still have about $15 million to spend. So if you got George at a high price, you'd still be able to kind of handpick the talent around the league at the contract you like, and just give draft picks away. I mean, not just give away, just trade them for the. I look at Dallas. Dallas is a good hybrid of this, right? Dallas has two superstars who are really high paid, so they're top heavy. They got two of them, and then they took their assets and they divvied them out for guys on good contracts that were about to expire for whatever reason, or guys for long-term contracts that teams wanted to get rid of that fit exactly what they needed. They went out and they shelled out draft picks for Gafford, and they shelled out draft picks for PJ Washington. Two guys that they hit home runs for him. Because if you look at Dallas, they still have an underperforming Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not even performing to what he was for them, what his contract was, but they've made up for it because they made so many good moves that hit home runs on. The Jones signing was great. PJ Washington trade was great. Lively hit. So if you can do a tweener between those, and let's say you do a sign George, you got about $15 million to play with. You make a good shell out a couple of firsts or a first for a guy in a good contract around the $7 to $9 million range. You still have another $7 to $9 million ready to spend on another guy. You get two guys that just fit your scheme perfectly on good contracts. You don't have to worry about going over the cap later on. It's something that they already said they're not worried about. They'll spend the money and they'll spend the draft to keep the team together. So this year's all about strategically getting as much talent as possible. And then after this is just keeping it together and shelling out the tax dollars to have it. That's why when we had our free agents show, I preferred the Morey or the Bridges deals because it allowed us so much more money to spend afterwards and still have those role players. You can still do that with PG and Butler. It's a lot harder with Butler. It's hard with George, but less than with Butler because you can still trade assets to get guys on good deals. But I think we can get it done by signing PG. I'll be at the higher price tag. And I don't think Ingram is the player George is, but he makes a lot less than George, which gives us even more money to play with. That gives us about like 25 million to play with after that.
So you're saying you don't think when you say you don't think Ingram is the player George is, like, what do you mean by that?
Right now, I don't think he's the best fit.
Like, what do you mean by that? You talking about his fit, or you just talking about their talent?
Fit for us.
Okay.
I'd rather have George for what we are right now. George is, when other players on the team have it, he can be passive. When he needs to step up and score the 35-40, he can do it. He's shot well above 40 on a catch and shoot on a high clip, too, for the last, I don't know how many years, which he's going to get a lot of catch and shoots with guys like Maxey and Embiid around him. Ingram still doesn't take a lot of threes.
You got guys around him now.
Yeah.
Ingram. I was just asking.
I still like Ingram.
What the difference.
I think Ingram's a little more I think Ingram's closer to a Tobias in the fact that he's a little more ISO heavy than what George can be to score. George doesn't have to take the ball one-on-one to score. He can catch and shoot 4 threes a game and score just 12 just off of that. And then he can go off his ISO and play off of other people. I just think Ingram's a little more ball dominant than what George has to be on a better team. I'm not against Ingram at all. And he's younger, so he can grow into that role. So long-term commitment, you can make a good argument that Ingram's a better long-term commitment than George is at this point. And he's closer to Maxi's age.
What is long-term, though? To me, anything over 2 years is long-term.
Yes. So Ingram's going to get an extension after next season. So what, a 3-year plus that? So they'll both be ending in like 4 years. Ingram will be – he's still young. He'll be like in his early 30s in 4 years.
My thing with Paul is I don't think he can commit more than 2 years, and I don't think Paul is leaving the Clippers for a 2-year deal.
Nah. Yeah, I think you're going to have to give him the 4 for $212 to get him here.
And I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's the route the Sixers should take.
I think from what I read, the beat reporters had a mailbag recently for the Clippers, and they were saying how from the way Frank made it sound, they're going to allow him to test free agency. And that's probably because they don't expect someone to divvy out the 4 years for $212. So if no one does that, he'll probably come right back to LA to get that contract.
And if they do, you let him walk. If they do, you let him walk.
You mean you're the Clippers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know though, man.
I know for a fact the Clippers owner isn't necessarily stressing about it, about having to pay it. So I don't think from his perspective, I mean, he just gave T. Lue is that the largest deal or close to the largest deal? So they're going into the new arena, so he ain't tripping on it. Unlike a lot of other owners, like he's different. So his reach is very different. So I think at the end of the day, Paul's from California. I believe he's going to get the most money there. I don't see him leaving. I just don't see him leaving. I mean, maybe he don't get the money he wants, but I just think that he's going to get the best deal there. I just don't see a California guy leaving to go to Philly.
I know, man. I struggle with it too, but
I don't think Paul does it unless the deals are drastically different.
Like 1 year and 50
the
extra
only way
million.
The only way I think you can get drastically different is years more than salary.
Yeah.
Like we offer him a 4-year deal and the Clippers offer him a 2-year deal. Something like that.
Yeah, I think right now the extension is the Kawhi extension. It's 3 for $152. I think they offered him this pretty much the same thing, I think, for both of them.
And he's not getting more than that. He's not getting more than Kawhi. He may get the same amount as Kawhi, but he's not going to get more than Kawhi.
Yeah, I think he wants the extra year. Is what he wants.
They're not. You can't give him. You can't. You got to keep them on the same. Get them off the cap at the same time. You can't give one guy 4, another guy 3.
Can't That's why they're trying to leverage us and say, well, Philly's going to give us 4 for $212.
Well, then Philly going to have to give it to you then.
Exactly.
And they're saying Philly's going to – now Philly will be cap strapped if they give you that deal. So we give Paul George 4 years. We're basically saying Paul and Maxey and Joel got to win us a championship.
Yep.
And whoever else we put around them, because you're not getting anybody else for 4 years.
Yep.
And the draft pick becomes a big deal for us.
So if you think that can win you a championship, maybe so. I mean, maybe so.
Yeah.
I mean, it could. If you could look at the Mavericks and you could arguably be like, hey, we can do what they did.
Yeah.
You know, it's teams that you can look at it and be like, Pacers made it to the conference finals.
Yeah.
Even though they played some injured teams, but I'm just saying, they still made it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the same injured team to beat us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if we can keep our draft picks and try to send them out for good contract role players, then I'd be okay with it. I mean, hopefully they have a plan. We're coming out of the wire here of 3 weeks from now. So
they've had a year to fine tune this plan. So hopefully they do have a legit plan.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram's 26, by the way, and Eric, you were right. Julius Randle was the second leading scorer when he was injured. By the time he was injured, he was the second leading scorer.
Second? Okay.
He was like he had averaged 24 points a game behind Brunson's 28 points a game. And RJ Barrett was their third leading scorer at 18 points a game when he was there.
So that's a big impact.
24-point game, 24 points. So that's like us losing Maxey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a full throttle Joel, but lose Maxey. That's hard, man.
Yeah.
We're not winning 2 games without Maxey.
No.
So another one of the names, I know Paul George is the sexy name everyone likes to talk about as far as us being interested in, but another name that we are interested in, and one of the million guys we're interested in, was Donovan Mitchell. And I know that when you guys talked about the needs of our squad, you guys didn't really mention like another guard. Would you be upset if that ends up being the target for us? I mean, if he even ends up leaving Cleveland in the first place, which I have serious doubt that happens. But if we offered a 4-year deal to Donovan Mitchell, would that be an exciting one for you, or no?
I like Donovan Mitchell.
You'd like him next to Maxey on the squad?
I think that. Yeah, I like him next to Maxey, but I would have to be cautious about how they play, because I think Mitchell going to the Cavs has regulated Darius Garland. He's kind of like, I don't know if it's Garland that's kind of deferring too much. If it was JB and the staff kind of like telling him to throttle it down, but it was a serious decline from not necessarily from a talent standpoint, but serious decline from a aggressive standpoint when Mitchell showed up. So that would have to be addressed, that Maxey has to play a certain way to maintain, to maintain that level of consistency and play that he has. He has to be aggressive and playing hard and active and getting shots up and speed and transition. Like, he has to play a certain way. And I think if you're getting a guy in and he's playing mainly ISO ball, then you have to be aware of that.
Yeah. And I think if Dallas can be a blueprint, if that were to be a thing with the way Kyrie and Luka played off each other, although we don't really have – neither of those guys are as much facilitators as Luka is.
Yeah, Luka's a unicorn, man. You can't just duplicate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Garland or Mitchell will be a better fit for us?
Mitchell. Garland he's not a fit.
Yeah. And the 3, Embiid, Maxey, and Donovan Mitchell are friends with each other. So there you go. There's a fit right there.
There's legs.
Yeah. Okay, so final
these
topic.
Guys friends, man. How many friends they got? How you friends with all these guys on other teams? Man?
A lot of group texts, Eric.
Yeah, a lot of group texts. Well, I think a lot of them became very close to the Michael Rubin party, and I think that whole like Michael Rubin like fanatics thing. I think a lot of guys have gotten closer from that and stuff.
Yeah,
man, I understand that. Like you cool with somebody, but that don't make them your buddy because you cool with somebody. That's what I don't understand how they do all that. You can't be friends with everybody. That's why they don't be trying to knock people's head off.
I know.
They play against them. Everybody can't be your buddy.
Yeah. It's true. So final topic here. So there was an interesting article by Jake Fisher that came out last week that was quoted saying Philadelphia views the opportunity to have $60+ million in cap space this summer as something just shy of the Warriors' ability to sign Kevin Durant in free agency in 2016. So pretty high regards. They hold the $60 million in cap space. But how do you guys feel about this? Are you getting Warriors KD vibes, or is this incredibly optimistic from someone inside the building telling Jake Fisher this?
I think it's tough because when Golden State, and you can talk about Golden State signing KD, which was historic, but they were also coming off of back-to-back NBA finals. So the big deal was them coming off of back-to-back finals, having all this cap space, and still keeping your best three players. Like, this isn't the same. It's, as much as we want to think about it, it's not the same. But to have that much cap space, if there's a Kevin Durant player out there, then they'll make it happen. I mean, but the Golden State Warriors came off winning the championship, losing in 7, and go out and get arguably at that time the second best player in the NBA. Arguably, Steph or KD, LeBron, or LeBron top 3, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, all still pretty good
at that time. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, to add to that team. So that's like us having $60 million and going to get Giannis, Joker, or Luka.
Yeah.
So that's what it would be equivalent to. So it's not the same. I mean, yes, you would like to look at it from that standpoint, as far as how much cap space you have and going to get a top player. But we got to keep this in perspective. It's not the same.
Even getting Kevin Durant this year would just make it not the same, because it's 5-6 years later.
Yes,
so
it wouldn't be the same.
Even that's different.
Yes, it wouldn't even be the same if we got KD. Yes.
Yeah. It would be like just shy of it, considering where we're at compared to where the Warriors are at, and where KD is compared to where KD was. So I think it's maybe on paper it seems close, but on results, nowhere near close. We're not a championship team. We have the potential to be. We have 2 all-stars, one superstar and one, hopefully ascending into one. And we have the cap space, but unfortunately, 2 things fall short. What we've done with the current core compared to what the Warriors did, and who's available compared to who was available. So just something just shy is that's a little bit of the wrong statement there. It's pretty shy. It's pretty far off. It's nice. There's a reason why Morey's having our name thrown out for every potential guy who's available, because no one is nearly as good as us with that much cap space. And that is a huge advantage to have when your next suitors are just not as appealing as you are. Hey, you want to play with Joel and Maxey, and we give you all the money you want? So it's appealing. There's a reason why every agent's using the Sixers right now to get to leverage, to get as much money from their current team, because it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You're scared of that if you're another team. You're like, shit, yeah, I want to play with them. Why, if I was a superstar, why wouldn't I want to play with them? So I see the optimism, but let's calm down a little bit. It's not the Warriors.
I wish it was the case. And obviously, our front office is trying to stir up some excitement on this offseason to try to get people with the plan. But yes, very far away from the Warriors. I did see a funny fake account, because someone was mocking the fact that every free agent and every player is attached to the Sixers right now, rumored interest. There was one of the fake NBA accounts reported that the Sixers are interested in James Harden this offseason. I was like, wait, what? I had to look at it. I was like, oh, it's one of those fake accounts.
Well, that's That's one guy I don't expect to see our name mixed in with. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how everything unfolds, and I'm sure by the time we meet again next week, there'll be more players attached to us, and we'll discuss that then. But we hope everybody enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys next week. Take it easy, fellas.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.